They don't know much beyond that. They don't get a lot of answers that give me comfort. Steven Spielberg's name is a huge part of modern movies. From Jaws to E.T., from Schindler's List to Saving Private Ryan, his films didn't just make money. They defined entire generations. He's famous for getting amazing performances from actors, creating moments that feel like only he could have made them. He lands. I need him to scramble on his hands and knees and run out to that car over there. But even the best directors make choices they wish they could take back. Casting is about trust. It's about vision. And when that trust breaks down, even a master like Spielberg feels the pain. He has talked, sometimes openly and sometimes carefully, about actors who didn't fit, about roles that threw off the flow of his films, about decisions that stuck with him long after filming ended. These regrets aren't just about picking the wrong talented person. They're about losing chemistry, breaking trust, or getting performances that didn't match the movie he was trying to make. Here are the 5 actors Steven Spielberg has admitted. Either directly or indirectly, he regretted casting. And what their stories tell us about how delicate making great movies can be. Number 1. Dustin Hoffman. When Spielberg first worked with Dustin Hoffman on Hook, it seemed like a perfect match, one of the greatest actors alive, playing the colorful Captain Hook. But the filming was far from smooth. Hoffman, known for being intense and obsessed with getting every detail right, clashed with Spielberg's way of working. Thank you. The director wanted a fun, but slightly dark children's fantasy. Hoffman went for serious Shakespearean drama, dragging out scenes that Spielberg wanted quick and playful. Spielberg later admitted that the tension made the whole production harder than it should have been. What was supposed to be magical often felt like a fight between 2 stubborn people. Hoffman had built his career on becoming his characters. From The Graduate to Rain Man, he was famous for disappearing into roles with obsessive preparation. Spielberg respected that dedication, but on Hook, it became a problem. Hoffman wanted complex layers in a film Spielberg was making as a fairy tale adventure. The actor often wanted to do multiple takes, stretching the filming schedule and wearing everyone out. Spielberg once said that Hoffman was trying to play a Shakespearean villain in a children's story, and the styles were pulling the movie apart. For Spielberg, the problem was about the movie's tone. Hook needed a Hook who could scare kids and make them laugh at the same time. A villain who was threatening but also fun. Hoffman's approach focused too much on being scary, sometimes drowning out the playfulness of Robin Williams' Peter Pan. Come on, explode out of there. Stop the shade. Free your children. Spielberg later admitted the mood on set became tense, with Hoffman's serious style, pulling the film away from the lightness he wanted. Hoffman himself had mixed feelings when he talked about it. He praised Spielberg's genius, but admitted their working styles didn't always match up. Spielberg, in return, acknowledged Hoffman's talent, but with a catch. Sometimes a role needs simplicity, and Dustin was always looking for deeper meaning. He said what Spielberg needed was rhythm and fun. What Hoffman gave him was heaviness and darkness. The final movie left audiences split. Some critics said Hoffman was the best part, bigger than life and deliciously evil. Others felt his performance slowed down a film that was already struggling with its pace. Spielberg later called Hook one of his more troubled projects, pointing to mistakes in tone and casting. While he never completely criticized Hoffman, the regret was obvious looking back. The ironic thing is that Hoffman's talent was never questioned. He was so powerful that he reshaped the entire movie around himself, leaving Spielberg struggling with a performance he couldn't fully control. Number 2. Shia LaBeouf. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was already carrying the weight of impossible expectations. Spielberg hoped Shia LaBeouf could bring a younger, adventurous energy and take over the indie legacy. Instead, the actor's rebellious behavior off-camera became part of the drama. You never wrote that. You never said that in any phone calls. Marion Ravenwood is your mother. After the film came out, LaBeouf criticized both the movie and his own performance, calling it a failure. Spielberg responded with quiet disappointment, saying that an actor's loyalty should continue even after filming ends. It was a rare public break between director and star, and one that left Spielberg regretting the trust he had given. The film was supposed to connect generations. Harrison Ford returning as the iconic archaeologist, LaBeouf introduced as Mutt Williams, a possible replacement. On paper, the idea made sense, but during filming, the chemistry never really worked. Ford's grounded presence clashed with LaBeouf's boldness, both in his character and in real life. Spielberg later said that LaBeouf had talent, but didn't know when to hold back, explaining that when you criticize the movie you made, you're criticizing the family that made it with you. LaBeouf's public comments hurt. In interviews, he admitted he messed up the legacy of Indiana Jones. For Spielberg, it wasn't the admission of failure that bothered him, but choosing to say it publicly. Loyalty mattered a lot to him. He had spent decades protecting actors, defending them from critics, and showing their work in the best light possible. LaBeouf's words, whether honest or impulsive, broke that unspoken trust. Behind the scenes, the stress became visible. Crew members noticed LaBeouf's intensity, sometimes inspiring, sometimes disruptive. Spielberg valued precision and teamwork, qualities that made his best movies work. LaBeouf often brought chaos instead, a raw energy that didn't always help the bigger picture. What Spielberg hoped would be a passing the torch moment became a warning story about casting young actors for legacy roles. The damage lasted. LaBeouf continued making headlines for personal problems and controversial projects, while Ford and Spielberg stayed careful when discussing him. Hollywood rumors suggested that plans to continue the franchise with Mutt Williams at the center were quietly dropped. The actor's self-criticism, maybe his honesty, only made it clearer that the gamble had failed. In Spielberg's career, regret rarely came from lack of talent. He worked with actors of every style and personality. It came from broken trust, from feeling that the story on screen had been overshadowed by the drama of it. With Shia LaBeouf, the regret was obvious. The adventure that was meant to pass the torch ended up putting it out. Number 3, Julia Roberts. On the same set of Hook, Spielberg faced another unexpected problem. Julia Roberts as Tinkerbell. At the time, Roberts was America's sweetheart, glowing and profitable. But during production, personal problems and tabloid chaos followed her onto the set. Why are you in Neverland? Well, that's easy. Spielberg later confessed that her performance lacked the joy he had imagined for the role, and her energy clashed with the delicate fantasy he was creating. He defended her publicly, but privately admitted that she had been the wrong choice. Roberts herself later admitted she was unhappy during production, confirming the sense of regret for both director and actor. The casting seemed perfect on paper. Roberts' charm had made Pretty Woman huge and turned her into one of Hollywood's most wanted stars. But on Hook, the role of Tinkerbell needed a different presence. Playful, light, mischievous. Spielberg imagined her as the spark that could balance Robin Williams' energetic Peter Pan and Dustin Hoffman's intimidating Captain Hook. But from the start, Roberts struggled to find her groove. Spielberg once said, "I think Julia was going through a very tough time, and it showed in her work." Making things worse was the spotlight of media attention. Roberts was going through a highly publicized breakup during filming, and the press coverage followed her constantly. For a director who valued calmness on set, the constant tabloid noise created another layer of distraction. Crew members remembered that Spielberg often changed the schedule to work around her mood, hoping to keep peace during a shoot already stretched by special effects work. On screen, Roberts floated through fancy sequences as Tinkerbell. Yet Spielberg felt the character lacked energy. Critics agreed, describing her performance as subdued in a film already struggling with its tone. Years later, Spielberg thought back. Tinkerbell needed pure joy. What we had instead was someone weighed down by her situation. Despite the challenges, Spielberg defended Roberts strongly during promotion. He praised her commitment and insisted she gave everything she could under difficult circumstances. Roberts herself later admitted she felt alone on set, mentioning that much of her role was filmed separately because of the scale of the effects. That isolation only made the distance between her performance and the rest of the cast worse. Looking back, the regret wasn't about Roberts' ability. She remained one of the greatest actresses of her generation. It was about tone. Spielberg needed lightness and magic. Roberts delivered intensity and vulnerability. The mismatch showed how even the brightest star can fail when cast in the wrong kind of role. Number 4. Christian Bale. When Spielberg cast a young Christian Bale in Empire of the Sun, he was introducing the world to a talent that would eventually become legendary. But at the time, Spielberg worried he had gone too far. Bale's raw talent was undeniable. Yet, Spielberg admitted that directing a child into such a movie